Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
Hey, we have, as we always say, we always keep the best till last, don't we?
We do that, and we've gone through 11 GDFL coaches so far this year. The East Geelong Football Club has fairly recently appointed Ben Boseley, who's had premiership success at Birregurra, and I believe he may have even played at one at South Barwon. He knows all about footy. Ben Boseley, welcome to Two Blokes Chatting.
Good morning, guys. I hope you're well.
We are well. Good to have you on board, and you're taking over an interesting job in that the East Geelong Footy Club had not had a huge amount of success for a while, but last year, with a bit of luck, I suppose, with other clubs falling around them, but certainly great improvement. Played finals, reserves, won the premiership, so there's plenty to get excited about. But Jeremy Dyer, who was coaching the club, decided it was all too much and surprisingly left. And you've walked into what is a pretty up and about sort of group. How have you finding it?
Oh, look, it's an exciting place to be at the minute. There's certainly Jeremy and his team over the last couple of years, and 2019 made the elimination final team. But prior to that, there was a lot of work that was put into it, and even guys before him sort of building the foundations with blooding new juniors and getting the right people to the footy club. And so I take over a footy club in a really good position. There's a lot of energy, a lot of excitement around the club, but certainly it's not a daunting task. It's a good opportunity for me and the team to capitalise on that progression and growth in 2019 and hopefully continue to bridge the gap for what is going to be a good season this year.
Now, I only found out recently talking to GDFL President Neville Whitley that you've actually completed the circle. Going to East Geelong is going home for you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I born and bred East Geelong boy. I grew up around the Richmond Crescent Oval, and when I was about 12, 13, I used to play at Breakwater Reserve as a junior boy and head to the seniors and do the water boy for the seniors and reserves. And, I used to give water to the now president of our football club, Sean O'Leary, and Michael from around that time as well. So, and then obviously ventured over the other side and played at South and amateurs and do all the rest of the stuff. But yeah, no, certainly coming home, it's there's a lot of unfamiliar faces, but certainly there's some familiar faces that it's great to see them. 21, 22 years on, going back, and so again, it's a homecoming, but certainly there's still a job to be done that I'm looking forward to doing, hopefully.
Ben, just on that, in the circumstance that the club were in, I think Jeremy's resignation probably surprised them. So being that you had some connection with the club, albeit a long time ago, did they seek you out, or did you go through the normal process of applying for the position?
Oh, look, I suppose Mick and Sean have been keeping in contact with me probably over the last 5 or 6 years in regards to even when I went to South Barwon and was able to be part of some success there in the senior group and down to amateurs, and then when I went to be the player coach at Birregurra, I'm aware that they kept tabs on me, and they were always just subtly seeing how I was going and what my thoughts were, and making contact with my other family members and seeing how I'm going and whether I would contemplate coming back. So I suppose the conversations happened when Jeremy made that decision last year, but these are conversations that had been subtly going on for many, many years. So through that, it was a good opportunity, and the timing was right for us and my family, and it all sort of came together. So yeah, the conversation was last year post Jeremy, but had been going on for many, many years prior.
So Ben, we've spoken, as we said, to 11 other coaches in the GDFL thus far, and many of them were coaching in 2019. And when I say coaching, as in coaching the team that they're still coaching this year, and had an active role to play in maintaining what we would call, I guess, some momentum through last season that didn't happen. How hard is that for you to come in and effectively pick up that momentum, particularly given that there was a break between coaches? Is that a good thing because you're starting afresh and you're not carrying something over, or is it something that is just a little bit of a challenge for you?
Oh, it was certainly a challenge. It certainly has been some benefits of it, but I think to Jeremy's credit and to the football club's credit, there was a lot of momentum even up until Jeremy made that decision. And once Jeremy made that decision and they appointed the coach, and I went through the right process, and that took a couple of weeks even for me to decide whether I was going to put my hand up or not. But there was about 2 or 3 weeks where there was not a lot of clarity for the playing group, but Mick O'Leary and a lot of the other committee guys were keeping in contact with the players. So in terms of the momentum, there was a lot of momentum even through the 220 season where players weren't aware of whether Jeremy was going to do it or not do it. The club kept in contact with those players. Once I was announced, pretty much straight away that night, then we started phone calling guys, and there was about 30 phone calls in the space of 3 or 4 days to sort of capture the pulse of the playing group. And there was certainly not a reset, but obviously 220 was a very difficult season for coaches. But for me to pick up when I knew that there was some light at the end of the tunnel, there were some things about restrictions potentially easing, there was some guidance around what training could look like pre-Christmas, so I could come in and pretty much plan and attack what the pre-season post-Christmas training was going to be like, and then looking forward to round one. So when I came in, there was instant momentum straight away, that I think the players felt that energy and hopefully felt that passion and felt the goal of what we were going to achieve hopefully this year and going forward. So there were some challenges and complexities. Obviously, we couldn't catch up with the playing group. Most conversation was via phone, but I think we did it in a really smart way, and we just captured as many of the players straight away. So yes, a challenge, but also there's benefits of recalibrating the group in what was a pretty difficult season last year, obviously.
One of the questions we've asked each of the coaches, so we'll ask you as well, is there would be some players who fully intended to play last year, and their families realised that when Dad's at home mowing the lawns and planting plants and stuff, it's actually pretty good, so it's a bit hard for them to come back and play footy. Have we lost anybody that would have played last year that isn't going to play this year, would have played last year but isn't going to play this year?
Yeah, definitely. Look, that's a real challenge, and I think it will be a challenge, if we're really honest, for maybe a period of time. I think guys have just reflected on their own life and circumstances and thought that footy at times is a bit of subsidiary of what their life and vocation professional work looks like. And look, we've had a few players even the last 2 weeks who have decided, Ruben, one of our former coach of the football club, a really significant player, has decided to go back home even 2 weeks ago. Back up to Birchip. So again, he just reflected on his family life and work life and felt like that was best for him and his family. So even that happened 2 weeks ago, and there's conversations that are happening regularly about players can't get into training, different jobs, uncertainty about revenue. And so there are 2 or 3 players, particularly even in the last 2 weeks, that have decided that particularly early on that football's not for them. So it is very real. It will be a challenge going forward, and I think that the landscape in which we set expectations for our players, training and functions, and I think will change and shift slightly because you've just got to move with the times and understand where everyone's at. So yeah, I think that moving forward, that was always going to be something that was going to be a challenge for me and for all the coaches around the area.
Ben, there's an interesting discussion. Geelong and District Footy League's a great example of it, where you get a genuine country club, and we're talking Anarchy, Inverleigh, Bannockburn, Winchelsea, as opposed to the suburban clubs. You've played the majority of footy in a suburban environment. In your case now, Thompson, St Albans are close by, even Newcombe and St Mary's push across Marrable Street into your domain. But at Birregurra, it's just that. It's the town. The footy club is the town. Do you notice a genuine difference between a suburban club and a true country club in the makeup and affecting your role?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there is. I was just talking to our playing group, our coaching group, just about that very question a couple of weeks ago. But obviously, as I get back into suburban football, and I have spent a lot of my career in suburban football, there is an element of there's certainly expectations that you can drive from a suburban element. The guys are living close doors. They live around the area. Much of their work is whether it's office work or trade work. So you can really drive standards and expectations, even for training and getting there at the right time. But with country football, it's a little bit more transient, a little bit more flexible. We had guys that would milk cows at 4:30 in the morning on a Saturday prior to a game, and then would go to sleep and rock up pretty much at the start of the first quarter. And that's just work life. That's just what they've bought into, and that's country life. So I think that there are those types of expectations that differ from suburban to country. Certainly the community feel of a country club like Birregurra, you've got a population of 600, and it felt like 599 of those were at the football club on the Saturday. So you knew everybody, you understood where everyone was at. It was a great sense of community. And then East Geelong's a big club with a lot of players, with a lot of juniors that obviously for me, I don't know them all yet, but I just wondered the difference of what that sense of community looks like. And at Birri, it was so strong because you knew everybody. So therefore you knew what was going on and why guys weren't training and what was that attendance going to look like that following week. But yeah, suburban football is a lot bigger. The professionalism is certainly there in suburban football, but it does change the way you need to plan and attack pre-season, post-season, contractual things with players. Just by the subtle nature of their vocation is very, very different from country to suburban.
I'm guessing also that in a place like Geelong, you'd have more likely people working in offices and that kind of stuff, and the ability for them to be working more flexibly than they were 3 years ago, for example. One of the reasons I gave away playing footy as a kid, well, the primary was I couldn't play, but the other one, was around things to do with training, getting home from school and, getting to, whereas if I've got the capacity now as an employee to say, well, you know what, I'm going to knock off at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday, get down to training, it might mean that I'm working an extra hour on a Wednesday or I'm going home and doing stuff after dinner or whatever, would provide a bit more flexibility, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we're experiencing that flexible nature in suburban football, and that's what I was saying. I think that's here to stay, I think, for quite a long time. And certainly the country clubs will have their own challenges in regards to what that flexible working. Cows still need to be milked and potatoes need to be picked out of the ground. But certainly, even though the last couple of weeks as guys get used to football's on the calendar, that rhythm is starting to get back in their football life, that training picks up, but there's still an element that guys will be late, guys might be a bit early, guys might be working at home, guys are back in Melbourne 2 days a week. So you've just got to understand really through building a strong relationship with players about, it'd be great to set standards for everybody, but there's an individual nature of that you just got to be flexible. So, yeah, and we'll see. It'd be good to have a chat in 6 months' time to see what's changed and is it actually a challenge, or is everyone back to the normal rhythm and great attendance and functions and playing and lists are strong? We just don't know, I think. So we've just got to be flexible as coaches and be willing to change.
Make a note of that, Rob.
Yep.
Ben's just said he's happy to come back in 6 months. That's the first guest we've ever had who said, I'm happy to come back. That's impressive.
That's that'll be finals time.
Yeah, that'll be it. We got. You're in the book, mate.
Fantastic.
Now, speaking of finals time, Ben, your club played finals in 2019. A really strong finish and a spirited performance. As I said, the second 18 were premiers, so there's obviously some quality youth coming up, but you would have an eye on the competition while you were at Birregurra and have an understanding of what was happening to a degree. But coming in, new coach, new group, and a rapidly changing competition in that the other clubs are changing constantly, how do you set an expectation for your group, or don't you even bother with that?
I think from my experience of coaching and even being brought up in the system is, I'm aware of what other clubs are doing. I'm aware of who they've picked up, who they've potentially lost. But again, their lists are changing just as much as ours. But I think that the important thing for me to do was to come in and have a look at what that 219 team looked like, have a look at the journey that they've been on, have a looking at trying to get high retention from that list and then trying to build on the 220 recruits we got and then get a few of our 221 recruits on board as well. So, look, we're aware of where we're at. We know that there's a bridge that we need or a gap that we need to bridge with some of those top-end talent, Thompson and your Bannockburn. They're always up there. And we've been in the Valley in 219. We sort of just jumped in there and very spirited performance. We're aware there's a lot of work to be done. And so through that, it's about building some internal expectations and building that internal resilience and winning culture. And that's going to hold us in good stead, not only this year, but going forward, and hopefully well and truly past when I leave the football club, that we can build a culture that's around performance and just playing your role, however complex or simple that is. We just focus on internally. We're aware of external things, and we plan for that, and we know how Thompson and Inverleigh particularly play, but for us at this stage, we're building on an internal system of this is what East Geelong does. This is what we need to do. And if we do this and we do it well and we all play our role, whether big, small, significant or not, then we'll be in the game. That's where we're at the minute. And we expect to do well. We've got a playing roster that's strong enough, I think, to really compete. There's certainly many pieces in the puzzle that we need to put together. But hey, you've got to start somewhere. And so I think that we're just resetting as a footy club and trying to build on that 2-9 expectation of this is how we play and this is where we should be. And if we do that, then success will look after itself. If you focus too much on grand finals and trophies, then I don't think you're planning well. I think you need to start from the ground up. And Jeremy Powell did a wonderful job to do that. Now it's my job to build on that and get people and create an environment where players want to get better and want to get to training early. And if they do that, then success will come. Whether this year or 3 years down the track, it will come. We've just got to be really disciplined on those internal expectations and that sense of we're good enough and we can win.
And of course, with that methodology, that means it goes down through the second 18 group. And one of the issues that you had through 2019 was just the depth being tested. Are you pretty comfortable that you've got 30 senior players that are going to be in your club that you as a coach will be really confident about writing their name on the team sheet?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we've got a strong senior group. It's just we've got some wonderful colts that will be given every opportunity to play senior footy this year. So it's all based around performance and development, and everyone's going to earn their spot. But yeah, I'm really comfortable with the list that we've got. We've got some twos guys that have shown significant improvement and real desire to achieve and to play senior footy. And we've got some colts that have been with us for the last 3 or 4 months, training their backsides off 2-3 times a week and running 6-7 Ks a session to put their hands up as well. So it's not it's the method is all together. It's not just the senior group, but we want to give everyone an opportunity that has a desire and a hunger to play senior footy, and that includes those young kids as well. So yeah, no, I'm happy. I'm really happy with where the playing roster's at the minute.
Good stuff. All the very best today in the season opener, and we hopefully will be talking to you before 6 months. But it'd be good to catch up with you through the year, and looking forward to meeting you again at some stage soon. Good luck for season 2021.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.